What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Tim Sports Talk. And today we are going over a preview of the division rivalry, Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team. We got it Sunday tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Let's go ahead and preview this game. First off, though, before we do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're liking this type of content. Put this out every Saturday morning before the game. Get started. All right, so current status of these two teams right now. Cowboys are currently sitting at 8-4. Just beat the Saints last week on Thursday night, and they are sitting at the 4th seed of the NFC, and they are atop the NFC East. Right now, Washington is 6-6 on a 4-game win streak. They have found themselves in control of their own destiny. 5 straight wins with 5 straight division games coming up. They can all of a sudden take the East if they win all 5, but we will see how that goes. And they currently sit in the 6th seed of the NFC. Recent history of this rivalry, right? We got Dak Prescott coming back. Washington football team obviously swept them last year 2-0 as the Washington football team. But, of course, they were pretty beat up last year. They didn't have Dak Prescott. Their offensive line was pretty beat to heck. Their defense was just atrocious on all levels, not coached well. But they did get beat. Before that, though, Dak Prescott was 7-1 when healthy against Washington. But we also have something new, which is Ron Rivera. So the last time Ron Rivera faced Dak Prescott was in 2018. Dak Prescott went 19 for 29, 170 yards, and no touchdowns, no interceptions. And Carolina ended up winning that game 16-8, where Dak had a chance at the end. He ended up getting a sack fumble to lose. And Carolina also did it how we're winning games right now. A slow, grinded-out game with 32 carries compared to 26 passes. And they won the time of possession battle. They ended up squeaking out the win at the end. Last time Washington beat Dak Prescott was, of course, the Alex Smith era Washington football team, where they had the opportunity to a field goal at the end of the game. There was a little controversy with the false start. They ended up hitting a post, and it was no good. But again, a nice, slow, grinded-out game for Washington. They had 24 carries with Adrian Peterson for 99 yards and won the time of possession battle. But now, this is the first time in a while, and the Washington football team beat Dallas when they have Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. Dak Prescott's clearly a different quarterback with Cooper. We'll get more into that, but it's definitely going to be an interesting game this Sunday. All right, a little bit of the injury report. So we got Landon Collins was a limited participant, questionable for now. Jamin Davis was a full participant on Friday, so looking good for concussion protocol for him to be good. Right now, he's still listing at questionable, but a full participant on Friday should be good news. Jonathan Allen was limited all week with a groin injury. Jordan Kunajek is out, Wes Switzer as well, but Tyler Lawson, the second-string center, looks like he may be back with a full participant on Friday to replace Keith Ismail, who was actually doing okay, but he's clearly a downgrade from the other 3 centers we have. Curtis Samuel, of course, is still limited, and he's probably going to be limited for the rest of the year. Brandon Sheriff was a full participant on Friday, and so was Ricky Seals-Jones, which is huge considering Logan Thomas had to go on IR this week. J.D. McKissick right now did not practice on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, limited on Friday. Still big question mark. It would be huge for Washington to get him back. Now, Noah Brown was just put on IR for the Dallas Cowboys yesterday, so they will not have Noah Brown, their 4th-string receiver. Tony Pollard did not practice all week with a torn plantar fascia, the tendon on your heel. They say eventually the pain will go away, and it's actually not a bad thing to tear it, but for now he's still experiencing pain, and he's a question mark for whether or not he'll play on Sunday. Cedric Wilson, Zeke Elliott, and Sean McCohen, all 4 full participants, and Micah Parsons was not listed on the report on Wednesday, but he is limited last 2 days of the week, and that could be huge for Dallas if he is not ready to go. Now, let's go ahead and go through some key opponent, or the key players for our opponent here for Dallas. First up, we got the rookie, the one that was limited in practice, Micah Parsons, number 11 on that defense, linebacker. But they've been using him a lot at defensive end, especially with DeMarcus Lawrence being out. On the year, the rookie has 10 sacks, including 7.5 in the last 5 games. Dan Quinn was so smart to go ahead and put this guy. He's not the best coverage linebacker, and they already have a couple of other pretty decent linebackers, so why not put him at end? You had a couple of injuries along that line, and he is absolutely excelled in this position. And, hey, please, Washington, do not boot his way, okay? Let's not test it. We tried to test Max Crosby last week, and he made us pay on that one. Let's not do this with Micah Parsons. The guy's a physical freak. The guy's really good. There's a reason he was the 11th pick overall. Let's not test him. On to the next guy. We got Trayvon Diggs, number 7 cornerback. And, of course, everybody knows this year he is leading the league in interceptions with 9 of them. But if you look at his PFF score, he's only a 53.2 on the PFF. Why is that? Well, how do you get 9 interceptions? Is you have to get thrown to a lot, first off, and you have to jump a lot of routes, right? And that's what he does. A couple of them he's turned into pick sixes because he's very good at going ahead and trying to leap in front of the ball. He's got great quickness, but he's also susceptible to getting destroyed on the other end. The quintessential perfect example of this is the Patriots game. Back-to-back plays, he had an interception for a touchdown against Mac Jones, and then immediately gives up on the very next play a touchdown to Kendrick Bourne, a 75-yard bomb. And he's near the top of the league in all the categories you don't want to be in. Receptions allowed, yards allowed. It's not been a good year. It's been up and down, really. And everybody sees those interceptions and thinks, oh, Trayvon Diggs, he must be one of the best corners in the league. Well, he has great hands, clearly, because he can catch the ball. But you're clearly getting tested a lot. It's kind of like the D'Angelo Hall game. Oh, he had a 4-interception game against Jay Cutler. And Jay Cutler was like, well, I ain't scared to throw to him. It didn't work out that day. And so it's kind of an up and down experience. Speaking of, we're staying on the defensive side, and we got, DeMarcus Lawrence is back, all right? He only played on 37 snaps last week, around half the snaps. But as I said, he got injured the first week of the season. They put Micah Parsons in that role. He had a limited role last week in the Saints game, but now he's most likely going to be back. You can see he's not even listed on the injury report anymore. And this guy can get after the quarterback. He is a consistent 80-plus PFF for the last several years. Had double-digit sacks in a season. They paid him a bunch of money. This guy can get dangerous if you let him. But saying that, Cornelius Lucas has done a great job on the right side of the line, replacing Samuel Cosmi, the rookie, who was a phenomenal second-round pick for us. Of course, he is now on IR. But Cornelius Lucas has only allowed 1 sack so far this year, and he's played some tough competition, especially in this 4-game winning streak. You look at Max Crosby, Brian Burns and Hassan Riddick in Carolina, and Shaq Barrett and JPP over there in Tampa Bay. So, not saying that DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be necessarily a game wrecker, but still, he has the capabilities of being one if we let him. Moving on to the offense. Tony Pollard, I did him first because he's not only offense, but he's also their return specialist. He has changed a lot of games so far for them this year. I mean, they lost to the Raiders, but he had a return for a touchdown in that game. He's arguably probably the most explosive player on this offense. They use him in so many different ways, and it seems like also the offensive line blocks better when he's in the game. I mean, it's weird. But even though Zeke's still having a good year, Tony Pollard has clearly been the more explosive of the two. And we have to make sure we're bottling this guy up, and especially in the return game. I want to see touchbacks, Brian Johnson. Don't try to test this guy. There's no reason to. It's only silliness. Put it in the back of the end zone, and then on Tress Way, I trust him to force some fair catches. But yeah, we don't need to out-kick our coverage this game. Could be really detrimental. All right, this is probably the most important player on this offense, and it's Amari Cooper. Obviously, the quarterback's the most important, but Dak Prescott is clearly a different guy when Amari Cooper is not out there. He is a phenomenal route runner, Amari Cooper is. He's got great speed. I mean, you think last year, even without Dak Prescott, Ronald Darby gave him an 8-yard cushion, and he still had a 50-plus yard bomb on him, right? So we got to make sure that we are not allowing him to get loose. We have a couple of decent man corners, especially William Jackson and of Kendall Fuller. I'm not saying they have to travel with him because they also have other weapons we're about to get into, but at the same time, they're going to have to step up this game. They haven't been stepping up very good all year. Let's see what they can do this game. All right, on to the next guy. We got Zeke Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott, all right, the Ewok, as everybody likes to call him. And he's not having the best year of his career, but he's still putting up solid numbers. He's still averaging 4.4 yards a carry. The person that was hurt the most, the worst thing that could have happened to Ezekiel Elliott was them hiring Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy sucks at using these kind of workhorse running backs. Aaron Jones was a 5-yard a carry running back before Mike McCarthy left Green Bay, but he would only give it to him like 7 times a game, 8 times a game. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, Matt LaFleur, whoever it is over there in Green Bay, brought in, and now Aaron Jones is a top 5 fantasy running back when he's healthy. Now it's the complete opposite. Zeke Elliott was a top 5 fantasy running back. Now he's struggling to even get back into the top 10. But when they do use him, he can be extremely effective. He was a big part of that 6-game win streak, including a 20-carry, 143-yard, and a touchdown against a solid defense in Carolina. This guy we have to not let get loose, and we do have a great run defense. Of course, we have Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne in the middle, Matt Ioannidis, Tim Settle. Cole Holcomb is decent in the run game. Jamin Davis is okay. Mostly our linebackers are decent in the run game. Same with Landon Collins, but in the past game, it's a whole different story. But for now, we have to make sure we're doing a good job against the run and try to force Dak Prescott to throw it all over us. And maybe he will, but if we let Zeke get loose and then Dak get play action, then it's going to get really dangerous for this team. The receiver number 2, CeeDee Lamb, is up next. Number 88. This guy is the primary benefactor from the return of Amari Cooper, right? Amari Cooper coming off the COVID list. And this guy has the talent enough to be a number 1 receiver. I mean, a couple weeks ago, he had 2 touchdowns and like 90-something yards. But with Amari Cooper on the field demanding attention, this is the kind of a guy that can absolutely explode. They love to use him as a deep threat. He can run the entire route tree. He's got great hands. There's a reason he was the first-round pick 2 years ago. And as I said, Fuller and Jackson have their hands full this game. Michael Gallup is also healthy. Dalton Schultz. If Tony Pollard plays, these guys have a ton of weapons, and they have a top-notch offensive line. Their worst offensive lineman is rated 64. Everybody else is rated over 70, and then Tyron Smith and Zach Martin are in the 90s. So they're very solid up front with a lot of weapons. They're dangerous offensively. Last, and certainly least, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has no more excuses, all right? He wasn't healthy last year, all right? He wasn't, before when we beat him last time when he was there, he didn't have Amari Cooper. He didn't have the weapons he needed. This time, except for maybe Tony Pollard, he's got a plethora of weapons. He has no excuse to lose to Washington. Zero excuse. So, let's get into the 5 keys to victory to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Number 1, shut down the run. I talked about it when we talked about Zeke and Tony Pollard. The Cowboys love to get away from the run if it doesn't work early. There's several games where Zeke Elliott only has like 4 carries in the first half. I think that's outrageous to have that offensive line and that type of a running back, and you're not using them and giving some pressure off this great receiving game. Yes, you have receivers. Yes, you want to pass the ball. Cool. Stay balanced, and then your passing game is going to be even more effective. I hope Mike McCarthy continues to be the ding-dong he is, and if we shut down a few runs early, they may completely get away from it. And as I said, they have the weapons to potentially throw it all over us anyway, but every team is easier when you're one-dimensional, right? The 2013 Denver Broncos were unstoppable through the air until they faced Seattle in the Super Bowl, and Seattle absolutely made them one-dimensional. They could not run the football at all, and then it's so much easier to stop a team when you're one-dimensional. So even though they have great talent through the air, let's force them to be a one-dimensional football team. Next up, number 2 on my important keys to victory is a fast start, right? We had a 7-0 lead last week against the Raiders, and we've done a decent job to not get down big early. We got to continue to do that over this. We've done it well over the 4-game stretch. We have to continue. We have an offensive game plan, very slow and steady, win the time of possession battle, give our defense time to rest. We cannot afford to go down 14 or 21-0 in this type of a game, and then you force Taylor Heineke into a position that you don't really want him to be in. So fast start for Washington. Number 3, I said this last week for the Raiders also, but it's important this week because we're going against the most penalized team in the league in the Dallas Cowboys. Literally, they're dead last. We have to stay disciplined. That's number 3. Stay disciplined. We did a good job against the Raiders last week, not stooping to their level and giving them free yards and penalties. Do the same thing. We've been actually pretty good in penalties throughout the year. I hope we keep that up, and that's going to be a big key to victory to beating this Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, there's some experts that are coming out and saying, oh, Washington, one of the keys to victory is their zone defense. I'm like, I don't know what you're watching. But when I'm watching is when we play zone, our linebackers go mentally challenged. I mean, they just absolutely lose their crap when they go in the zone. It's just terrible. They have no ability to understand what the receivers are trying to do to them, and they just leave big holes, big gaps, and they just stand in one spot, and they get toasted. Obviously, you can't play man-to-man the entire game, but in key downs, I want to see man-to-man 80% of the time, all right? And I understand they have good weapons over there, but that means also sending a blitz. Try to get pressure onto Dak Prescott, maybe even a 0 blitz, 1 high or 2 or 0 high. Get after the quarterback and play man-to-man. This zone has been getting absolutely torched, especially if we're only rushing 3 or 4 guys. If you give Dak Prescott enough time with these weapons, they will find a hole in the zone, even on 3rd and longs. Man up and get after the quarterback, especially on 3rd and long. Number 5, so last and certainly not least, the one big criticism that I've had over these last couple games, and I think they actually did a decent job in Carolina of doing this, but especially the last couple games, is we're not finding enough ways to get Terry McLaurin the football. Terry McLaurin is our number 1 weapon on offense. And I'm not saying we just have to throw deep to him, because that seems to be primarily what we use him for, as a deep route threat. Give him the jet sweeps. Give him the screen passes. Give him the reverses. Find ways to put the football into his hands, because he can make you right. Got great ability to run after the catch. You think about the Giants one last year where you had 3 guys around him, broke free, ran for a 70-yard touchdown. Get this guy the football in many ways as possible. And otherwise, I love the game plan. The game plan, just stay true to your game plan. The only tweak I want to see is Terry McLaurin getting 10-plus targets or touches in this football game. So those are my 5 keys to victory, just to run down them one more time. Shut down the run, get a fast start, stay disciplined, avoid zone coverage in key downs, and get Terry McLaurin the football. Man, I hope they put Trayvon Diggs one-on-one with Terry McLaurin. That's going to be a mistake. All right, the final thing, the game odds. Where does Vegas have us right now? We currently sitting at a 4.5-point dog in this game to the Cowboys, and I think that's fair. I think they're coming in very healthy. We're not coming in very healthy. ESPN gives us a 37% chance to win, which is a solid chance to win. Like, we beat the Steelers last year with like a 15% chance to win in the ESPN. So 37% chance is basically a coin flip in the NFL. For now, before the season, I said Dallas and Washington were going to split. I said that they were going to win our home game. We were going to win on the road. So I'm going to stick to that. I think that we are going to fall to the Cowboys this time, 27-23 in a close game. But as usual, I have no problem being wrong, and I'll be rooting for us on Sunday. Come on, Washington. Upset this Cowboys team that are sitting at 8-4. Make it interesting down the stretch, because a win here puts us a half game behind them for the division lead, and we can make it into the 4th spot and get a a playoff game at home. But thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. In the description below, there's a Discord link. Hop on our Discord and come talk some football. There's also donation links down there. And I have a second channel, the Tim and Jerris Sports Talk. Please subscribe to that also. We do some good stuff over there. But also be doing play-by-play here on the channel. 1 o'clock. Be there. Huge game on Sunday. We got to beat the Cowboys. And until next time. See ya!